What kind of house could make a designer say something like that?
私なら絶対に買いません。
え？
買いません。
The man was instantly intrigued, asking, "Is it because of this mysterious area?" Clearly, anyone would think it unnecessary, but if it was intentionally built this way, then what could it possibly be used for? Korihara's words sent a chill down Amamiya's spine, instantly making him picture a hidden body. But before he could continue, Korihara added something even more disturbing. He said that this mysterious space was just a small issue, and urged Amamiya to take a closer look at the children's room on the second floor. What kind of homeowner would install 2 doors for a child's room? And not only that, this room was a dark room, with its own private bathroom. What does that make you think of? Doesn't it sound like a solitary cell in a prison?
監禁？児童虐待？それか人には見せられない何か。
Despite the creeping dread, Amamiya didn't back down. Instead, he went straight to the house and recorded a video, hoping to ride the trend and boost his channel's popularity. When he uploaded the floor plan online, he accidentally uncovered an even darker secret. Excited, he immediately thought of Korihara, and early the next morning, he couldn't wait to share his discovery. When he overlapped the floor plans of the first and second floors, he realized that the mysterious area perfectly covered the children's room and bathroom above. If tunnels were built from both sides, that area would become the only passageway connecting them. Korihara's imagination kicked in, and he made a bold guess. Imagine a family of 3 living in this house. For some reason, the parents keep their child locked in the children's room. One day, they invite a guest over for dinner. After the meal, when the guest goes to the bathroom, the couple sends a secret signal to the child, who silently crawls through the hidden passage and sneaks into the bathroom to attack the unsuspecting guest.
つまりこの家は殺人のために作られた家だということです。
殺人のため？まさか。
ないとは言い切れません。今や巷では殺人代行を謳う闇サイトが多数存在しています。殺し屋の手口も多様化している。
Korihara then pointed out another odd detail. There were 2 closets in the children's room. If both led to hidden tunnels, then the one on the other side would be right above the garage, meaning the act could be done entirely in secret without anyone noticing. Amamiya was too scared to imagine further, thinking Korihara had simply watched too many detective stories. Just then, his assistant Yamaoka called the same man who had planned to buy the house and told him there was no need to continue investigating. He had lost all interest in buying it.
え？
ニュース見てない？近くであんなことがあったらさすがにね。
あんなこと？
It turned out that a mutilated body had been found near the house, dismembered into 5 large bags and buried in one spot. The police discovered one thing missing: a left hand. What a terrifying coincidence! Amamiya couldn't believe how accurately Korihara's theory matched reality, but instead of fear, he felt excitement at having found such a sensational topic. He wanted to keep working with Korihara, but Korihara cut him off, saying that if no one was buying the house, there was no reason to keep investigating.
何よりそれぞれの家にはそれぞれの秘密がありますから。
Even though Korihara refused, Amamiya was still determined. He organized the data into a video and posted it online, boldly claiming that he would get to the bottom of this mystery. Sure enough, the video went viral, attracting countless curious viewers. Someone soon sent him a private message, saying they knew something about the house and wanted to meet him in person to talk. Without hesitation, Amamiya agreed, not realizing that this decision would uncover a long-buried secret. Before long, Yuzuki arrived at his home. The news reports confirmed that the victim who had been found dismembered was her husband. She said they had been married for 3 years and recently moved to Saitama. One day, her husband told her he was visiting a friend's house for dinner and never returned. She only learned of his tragic fate through the news, and since the police had no leads, she started investigating on her own, eventually discovering a strange-looking house nearby. Amamiya brought the floor plan to Korihara, who immediately noticed something shocking. It was identical to the previous one. The children's room was surrounded by multiple layers of walls, and next to the first floor bathroom was another hidden space.
じゃあこの家も 殺人のために作られた家。
とはいえ、異なる分。
Kurihara explained that this house had no garage, but instead included a bizarre triangular room, and below it was clearly an empty area. Why waste space without building another room there? He could think of only one explanation: something was hidden underground.
地下室。
地下室？なんでそんなものが？
死体を捨てるためですよ。この家には車庫がない。なので代わりに死体置き場を地下に作ったんです。
いや、死体置き場って。
可能性はゼロではありません。
Kurihara's analysis made Amamiya's skin crawl. Could it really be that such houses were built specifically for murder? He returned home and told Yanaoka everything, planning to stay up all night organizing the footage. Understanding the situation, Yanaoka said he wouldn't disturb him and left. But as soon as Amamiya started working, a dull thud sounded from outside, followed by strange events. His screen began to flicker wildly, and then the power went out. Nervously, Amamiya turned on his phone flashlight to check the circuit box, but in the next second, someone bit him, and his vision blurred. In the haze, he saw a pale-faced woman staring directly at him, her voice sharp as she warned him, "Stay away from that house." Then he blacked out.
あの家に関わるな。
雨宮さん。
When he came to, he frantically described the terrifying woman he had seen, but Kurihara interrupted him, saying that when he arrived, he had found Yanaoka unconscious outside the door, eyes rolled back in a disturbing way. It must be connected to that house. When Yanaoka woke up, he looked lost and hollow. Before leaving, he warned Amamiya not to continue the investigation.
私はもうこれ以上付き合いませんよ。1円の足しにもなりませんし。
But Amamiya, stubborn as ever, refused to stop. Determined to uncover the truth, he sneaked into the first house with Yuzuki, wearing masks and recording everything. Following the layout from the floor plan, they finally reached the second-floor children's room. The sight inside was chilling. Deep scratch marks and red stains covered the floor, leading all the way to the corner closet. If there really was a tunnel underneath, then this house had indeed been built for killing. Amamiya nervously pushed the closet aside, and just as Kurihara described, there it was. Then his phone rang.
はい。
雨宮さん、今どちらですか?
Amamiya honestly told Kurihara where he was, but Kurihara's next words froze him in place. He had checked the dismemberment case, and the victim had never been married.
え?
宮江恭一さんに奥さんはいなかった。つまりあなたが今一緒にいるその人は得体の知れない正体不明の女性なんです。とにかく今すぐそこから逃げた方がいい。
Amamiya's mind went blank. Slowly turning the flashlight, he realized Yuzuki, who had been standing right behind him, was gone. That was strange, and before he could react, Yuzuki suddenly called out his name, startling him so much he nearly dropped his phone. Her expression twisted unnaturally as she stared straight at him. At that moment, everything became clear. He understood why he had been attacked. It had all been her plan. Amamiya bolted for the door, running outside, where he ran into a neighborly old lady and begged for help. Yuzuki followed them out but said nothing, only turned and ran away, which made everything even stranger. However, when Amamiya returned home, Yuzuki showed up again to apologize for lying. She confessed that she was actually the sister of the house's previous owner, and that she had lied because it involved a dark family secret she couldn't reveal at first. When she was still in school, her father died unexpectedly, and not long after, her sister mysteriously disappeared. Strangely, their mother didn't seem to care at all and acted as if nothing had ever happened. Later, an uncle from their rural hometown began visiting them regularly, but it felt incredibly strange, almost as if he was there to keep an eye on them. The pressure grew unbearable, and when Yuzuki asked her mother for answers, she refused to explain anything, so Yuzuki decided to leave home and live on her own. Then, 6 months ago, her missing sisters suddenly reached out. When they met again, her sister was married and had a child. Her sister was about to tell her something important, but a car horn suddenly blared from the distance, cutting her off. Startled, she quickly shoved a piece of paper into Yuzuki's hand and hurried away. Since that day, Yuzuki had lost contact with her again, and the address written on that paper turned out to be the same as those two mysterious houses. It all sounded unbelievable, but everything she said had really happened.
騙すようなことをして本当にごめんなさい。
After hearing Yuzuki's sincere apology, Amamiya no longer doubted her, especially since the female neighbor had already confirmed her story earlier that morning. The woman also mentioned something strange. One night before the former residents moved out, she had seen the shadow of a small child and even managed to take a photo. When she asked the neighbors, no one recognized the child. Amamiya enhanced the photo on his computer, revealing a masked child. The face looked strangely familiar, and suddenly, flashes of his earlier attack came rushing back. He and Yuzuki went back to Kurihara for help, bringing the photo with them.
私もその可能性は見落としていました。ですが子供が2人いると考えれば、これまで謎だった部分が解明できます。
Kurihara immediately thought of the strange house. The triangular area, he explained, was likely built by Yoshi for her future child. He also pointed out that a similar murder had happened nearby. The police had found a body missing its left hand, also dismembered in a horrifying way. No wonder Yoshi's family kept changing homes. Perhaps they were trying to run away from something. Either way, every case seemed deeply connected to them. At that moment, Yuzuki suddenly remembered her family's old estate. Thinking her sister might be there, she had lived there briefly as a child and recalled how eerie the house had felt. Kurihara's curiosity was instantly piqued. He asked Yuzuki to draw the layout of the family estate, and when she did, the design looked deeply unsettling. Along straight corridors split the house perfectly in half, for guest rooms were linked together with no windows, and at the end of the hallway stood a Buddhist altar. Kurihara said it would be best if they could find out more details, and Yuzuki immediately thought of her mother, who might know something about the original estate. At that time, her mother was volunteering at a local center. She greeted everyone with her usual warmth, but the moment she saw Yuzuki, her expression changed completely. She refused to talk about anything related to the family home.
私本家に行った話をやめなさい。
Seeing that she couldn't get any answers, Yuzuki realized that her mother's reaction only confirmed something terrible was being hidden. Finally, her mother took out a notebook and handed it to her, saying, "This was your father's diary. Some of the pages have been deliberately erased. Your father's death wasn't an accident, it was tied to a curse within the family. He lost his mind before he ended his life." At that moment, Kurihara seemed to realize something. Seeing that they could no longer get any answers, and knowing how dangerous this matter was, Yuzuki decided to go to the Katabuchi family estate alone to uncover the truth. As for Amamiya, who feared nothing, he was willing to risk everything to solve the mystery himself. The two made up their minds and set off on a path of no return. Meanwhile, Kurihara suddenly thought of something. He turned back, pretending he had left something behind, and before Yuzuki's mother could react, he walked straight into the house. She had clearly been hiding something inside, and to his shock, he found a strange mask. That meant the person who attacked Amamiya was none other than her. With the truth exposed, Yuzuki's mother had no choice but to confess everything. At the same time, Yuzuki and Amamiya arrived at the foot of the mountain, unaware that the Katabuchi family's servants had already spotted them. These servants had lived on the estate for generations, serving as the family's loyal branch, and the atmosphere along the way grew heavier with each step. When the two finally reached the main house, no one tried to stop them, as if they had been lured into a trap. Yuzuki called out several times, but no one answered. The old building stood eerily silent, exuding a chilling presence. Amamiya unfolded the floor plan and noticed that room 1 connected to room 3, which extended into room 2. But between rooms 1 and 2, the partition seemed to be blocked by something, completely sealed off. Yuzuki recalled the rumors she had heard about the estate.
噂？
昔何件か失踪事件があったそうなんです。突然姿を消してしまうっていう。その中にはこの家を訪ねたという人。
つまりこの家で姿を消したってこと？
Amamiya immediately thought of a hidden passage. Suddenly, a shadow appeared beside him. It was Yoshi, her blank, emotionless expression making his skin crawl. Soon after, the head of the family appeared. along with Yuzuki's grandmother and the mysterious uncle. When Yuzuki asked, "Where is my sister's child?" her grandmother suddenly screamed, cutting her off. The family head then spoke calmly, saying, "You are welcome to stay as long as you wish." Perhaps exhausted from the long journey, Yuzuki suddenly collapsed. When she awoke, Kurihara had already arrived, having learned the truth from Yuzuki's mother. According to her, the Katabuchi family had risen to prominence during the Meiji era, becoming one of the local elites. Among their servants was a maid named Katabuchi Ayano, who was deeply favored by the family head and eventually became his mistress after becoming pregnant. But this enraged the legal wife, who cruelly abused Ayano until she miscarried, then locked her in the dungeon and continued to torment her. Unable to bear the agony of losing her child, Ayano lost her sanity. She severed her own left hand and cursed the Katabuchi family. Not long after, the legal wife gave birth to her own child, but the baby was born without a left palm. Soon after, strange deaths began to occur within the household. The family head sought out a spiritual medium, who revealed that the tragedies were the result of Ayano's curse. The medium proposed a ritual known as the left hand offering, which required any child born into the Katabuchi bloodline, upon reaching the age of 10, to take a life and cut off the victim's left hand as an offering to appease the vengeful spirit. This ritual had to continue for 3 years.
左手供養。
もしもその話が本当だったとしたら、この家では代々殺人が行われてきたことになる。雨宮さんもその犠牲になるところだったかもしれない。
だったら姉も危険なんじゃ。すぐに探さないと。
探すってどこ？
If both of those houses had been built for murder, then if this house also contained a hidden passage, the most likely place it would be concealed was within the walls. And sure enough, they found a secret door right behind the altar. They followed the passage all the way through and discovered it led exactly between room 1 and room 2. And when they opened the door, it connected directly to room 2, which proved that the rumors Yuzuki had heard were true. At the other end of the passage, there was another door, and going further might be dangerous, so Yuzuki didn't want Amamiya to continue. But at this point, there was no turning back. What they saw next made their skin crawl. There was an altar dedicated to hands, with a photograph of Katabuchi Ayano placed above it, and below were 2 decayed left hands, but one was missing. As they moved deeper inside, they found a small room where a masked child crouched in the corner, and when he saw them, he stumbled toward the door. That child was the descendant of the Katabuchi family. Before anyone could react, Yuzuki's uncle suddenly appeared behind Amamiya and struck him with a brick, and when Amamiya regained consciousness, he found himself locked inside a cell. It was then that Yoshi revealed the truth. The masked boy's name was Keita. He carried the blood of the Katabuchi family and was meant to perform the ritual known as the left hand offering. She explained that years ago, when they disappeared without a trace, it was because the family had ordered her and her husband to care for the child, but they refused to let Keita commit such an act, so they built houses with hidden passages to protect him from the Katabuchi family. In the end, they were still found, and Keita was controlled through drugs. Before Yoshi could finish speaking, a group of masked followers broke in, planning to sacrifice Amamiya by using his left hand as the offering, and the family had ordered Keita to pick up an axe and strike. Keita raised the weapon, but at the last moment, he struck the floor instead, showing that he hadn't lost his humanity. Yoshi's husband broke free from his restraints and fought back, accidentally knocking over the altar, which set the room ablaze, while the followers murmured prayers for forgiveness, unaware that Yoshi and the others were escaping. Outside, more of the estate's residents rushed in after hearing the noise, trying to harm them, but they didn't know about the secret passages and left after searching in vain. Just as everyone breathed a sigh of relief, a blade suddenly cut through the door, nearly taking Amamiya's life. It was the second in command of the Katabuchi family, whose strength was unmatched as he easily overpowered Amamiya. Unlike the others, he wasn't obsessed with the curse. He wanted chaos and death only because it would bring him more wealth. But before he could act, the family head appeared, raised an axe, and brought it down, severing his left hand before returning to the passage, completely consumed by madness. When the others escaped, Yuzuki's mother also arrived to help them get away, and as they left, They saw flames rising from the Katabuchi estate, but Yoshi's husband perished inside. After narrowly surviving, Amamiya began to recall the earlier case. If Keita hadn't completed the ritual, then who had committed the killings? Yoshi then explained what had happened 4 years ago. They had moved to a new house knowing the time for the left-hand offering was approaching. They were acquainted with the first victim and had planned to meet that night. But when they arrived, they found him dead from illness, and the Katabuchi family took his left hand and offered it to the estate. The following year, unable to bring themselves to harm anyone, they lied and said they needed more time. But somehow, the estate still received a second left hand. Realizing they had been deceived, the family captured them and used drugs to keep them under control. That was how everything had happened, and after escaping with his life, Amamiya chose not to reveal the truth online.
これでいいんですよ。それぞれの家にはそれぞれの秘密がありますから。
ああ、じゃあ別のガツンとしたネタお願いしますよ。
Meanwhile, Yuzuki went to find her mother but accidentally overheard her speaking with her sister, and as her eyes shifted toward the nearby workers, it became clear that she was the one behind the killings. At the same time, strange noises echoed through Amamiya's home, and Kurihara, sensing danger, told him to check the floor plan. There was clearly another hidden area inside the house. Amamiya lifted the curtain and saw that the wall was covered in mold, and the floor beneath it was crawling with maggots.